I caught 3 fish today. Darling, the solitude has truly cleared my mind. I looked at Nathan's text message. Then at the picture on my laptop of him relaxing with his arm around his secretary at a Punta Cana beachside bar. 2 minutes ago was the timestamp. I responded back. My fingers calm despite the anger swelling inside of me. That's wonderful, honey. I'm thrilled that nature is bringing you calm. I'm Liana Thompson, and up until 10 minutes ago, I believed that my marriage was strong. But suddenly, with her face flushed with worry, my coworker Rachel burst into my Denver Law Company office. She had pulled up Brianna Moore's Facebook page and said, "You must see this. My spouse of 8 years was reportedly enjoying a luxurious resort with his 20-something secretary while on a wilderness getaway to recuperate from work-related stress." I kept scrolling through the pictures of romantic meals, beach walks at dusk, and snatched kisses by the swimming pool, with sickening descriptions like, "Finally with my true love," and "No more hiding." Each one is time-stamped. I nearly laughed at the absurdity of their negligence. Rachel reached for my hand and muttered, "Oh my God, Liana, I'm so sorry. How will you respond?" I quietly shut off my laptop, maintaining a neutral demeanor from years of courtroom experience. Because his mistress couldn't help but share their romantic holiday on social media. Nathan was unaware that his well-planned camping trip was about to fall apart. He didn't realize that he had provided me with all the necessary tools to ruin him. While he indulged in cocktails and shattered our marriage, I first pulled out a legal paper and said, "I'm going to text my sweet husband to see if he's interested. I messaged you again. I really miss you and look forward to reading about all of your wilderness experiences." Rachel looked at me with obvious bewilderment. "Don't you go up to him?" I grinned as I recalled all the cases I had won by giving my opponents the impression that they were in the lead. I had discovered that, in my experience as a business lawyer, the element of surprise was frequently my most effective tool. Nathan believed his camping narrative was really creative, but he had no idea that his mistress's addiction to social media would be his undoing. You know what's preferable to exposing his deception? With my legal pad already filled with notes, I questioned Rachel, allowing him to continue lying as I destroy his whole existence. I met Nathan while attending Stanford Law School. He seemed to share my ideals of perseverance and hard work. And he was pleasant and motivated. Under the strain of demanding study plans and competitive internships, some couples in our class drifted away. But we became closer. That was my initial idea. Anyhow, I declined a job offer at Morrison & Webster, one of the best investment firms in the city, when I graduated because I didn't want to begin our marriage with a long-distance relationship. He had responded, "You're making the proper decision. We work as a team." I became the youngest corporate attorney at Lambert & Cole after rapidly moving up the ranks and finding success of my own. Looking back, I could see how Nathan's smile tightened whenever a customer explicitly asked me to handle their case. Yet he looked happy about my accomplishments. We didn't have a flawless marriage. But who is? We handled conflicts like attorneys, compromising, bargaining, and locating a middle ground. Then, as Nathan often mentioned, Brianna came to his business 6 months ago. Young, pretty, and reportedly extremely competent at her work. He would say she's really efficient. Finally, I have a secretary who can adjust to my changing schedule. I choose to disregard the warning signs. I trusted my spouse. After all, I was startled out of my reverie by Rachel's voice. "Do you recall last month when he didn't show up for your anniversary dinner? Claimed he had a late shift." I accessed Brianna's Facebook profile once again and went back over her history. A check-in at Barolo Grill was there. This occurred on the same evening. "Last night at the office never felt so good," was the caption. I said, "I can't believe I was so blind." But Rachel shook her head. "Liana, you weren't blind. You had faith. There is a distinction." I considered all the other indications I had brushed aside. He never used the new gym membership. He unexpectedly developed an interest in attending out-of-state work conferences. His laptop and phone both had new passwords. I had handled innumerable divorce cases and had seen the classic indications. However, I had persuaded myself that our marriage was unique. What's the worst thing? You know? I referred to our joint account data. He's funding their little romance with our money. When I showed Rachel the most recent transactions, her eyes sprang wide. Tickets to Punta Cana in first class? A resort with 5 stars? Yes, I said, having already started to write my bank an email. However, this was only temporary. For the following hour, I meticulously recorded each questionable transaction from our shared accounts. I forgot about the living room. Dinner is becoming cold. As I developed my case, none of it mattered. The proof was incriminating. The expenses were incurred for jewelry that I had never purchased. Dinners at eateries I had never been to. The fees for hotels in the cities where Nathan claimed to be meeting with customers were also included. I pointed to my screen and said to Rachel, "Look at this. 3 months ago, he made the reservation for their trip to Punta Cana. This was not an impromptu moment. He has been preparing for it. Why, though, did he inform you that he was going camping? How about claiming it was simply another work trip?" My phone buzzed with another text from Nathan just as I was ready to reply. He had sent a picture this time. A generic scene of camping that was obviously taken from the internet. Displaying a tent set up beside a body of water. His message said, "Home sweet home. Out here, the stars are breathtaking." My hands began to shake. Not out of sorrow, but out of icy, unfeeling anger. After 8 years of marriage, he didn't even try to look for a credible picture to back up his falsehood. I discovered what I was searching for when I opened my inbox. I received the employee handbook from Nathan's company months ago after I assisted them in reviewing several contracts. This is clearly stated in bold letters. Supervisors and direct subordinates cannot have a relationship. Doing so will result in instant firing. "Rachel," I murmured hesitantly, "did you know that Brianna has also been using Instagram to chronicle their whole relationship?" We retrieved her profile. It was a treasure trove. Subtle pictures over months, all of them incriminating in some way. There are coffee mugs that display Nathan's name. In the corner of the meal photographs is his watch. He even took an after-hours selfie in his office, where he sat with her on his desk and smiled up at her. Rachel's voice was strained as she replied. "It gets worse." She had been looking more closely at the financial documents I had retrieved. "Take a look at these transfers." When I saw what she had discovered, my stomach fell. Nathan's romance had involved more than just using our shared funds. For months, he had been transferring substantial amounts into a secret account. I had no knowledge of this account. I muttered when I looked at the total, $90. He has been keeping money hidden. Rachel delicately stated, "That's more than just affair money. That appears to be. I accomplished the exit strategy with money. He has been preparing to break up with me." The realization hit me hard. This was a well-thought-out plot. Not merely an affair. He had been organizing his getaway with a younger lady, methodically concealing assets, and getting ready to surprise me while I had been establishing our life together. I made my decision and stood up. "I need a favor. Rachel, could you cover the remainder of the week's meetings for me?" "Of course," she answered. "How will you respond?" I grabbed my phone and wrote my hubby another heartfelt text to let him know how much I missed him. He will wish he had never learned to lie because of me. I entered Harriman Credit Union as soon as it opened the next morning. The manager quickly welcomed me into his office after hearing about me from the big clients I handled. "What brings you in so early, Mrs. Thompson?" I pushed across copies of Nathan's transactions and said, "I need to talk about some suspicious activity on my joint accounts. I think my spouse has been transferring funds without my permission or knowledge." I moved my personal money to a separate, safe account and froze our joint accounts in less than an hour. Not until he attempted to access the funds, likely when it came time to pay for his romantic retreat, would Nathan realize this. I went back to my office and started phase 2. I gave my longtime customer Susan Mills, the HR director of Nathan's company, a call. I started, "Susan, I have a delicate topic to discuss. Nathan and his secretary are at the center of it." "More, Brianna?" Susan's tone became piercing. "How about them?" I sent her a carefully chosen collection of Brianna's postings from social media. "I think this goes against your company's rules on the interactions between superiors and subordinates." It was evident from the quiet on the other end. Susan eventually stated, "I'll need to escalate this immediately. This is rather worrisome." "I understand." I said in a businesslike tone. I simply wanted to let you know. I then gave our locksmith a ring. There were benefits to doing all our housework. But Nathan never investigated. Yes. I urgently need all of my locks replaced. If at all feasible. Now. I started packing Nathan's things as I waited for the locksmith. I packed every monogrammed shirt, expensive tie, and fancy suit into a heavy-duty trash bag. On our immaculate driveway, 8 years of marriage had been reduced to black plastic bags. It buzzed on my phone. Nathan texted again. I'm missing you. I'm eager to share all of my travels with you. I typed back with a smile. I also miss you. Hello. Brief inquiry. Before you departed, did you remember to pay the credit card bill? He answered in a flash. Naturally. Honey. Don't stress over anything. There was yet another falsehood to be revealed. I was now staring at the past due notice. So I knew he hadn't paid it. He had been too preoccupied with organizing his vacation to take care of everyday duties. Around midday, Rachel phoned. You must see this. Liana. Brianna just made another post. I opened Facebook. My spouse was on a sunset cruise. Lifting a glass of champagne. Living my best life with my soulmate. The caption said. The caption read. I am no longer hiding. I said. No more hiding. Indeed. And sent the picture to Susan at our. The locksmith showed up right after my divorce lawyer confirmed via email that she had submitted the necessary documentation. Everything was coming together. My phone then rang. James Morrison, Nathan's supervisor, was present. Liana, he remarked solemnly. You must be aware of the reason for my call. I can make a guess. We didn't know. To pay for this, he has been embezzling money from clients. Affair. An internal audit was prompted by the pictures. It's not good. As I processed this new information, I closed my eyes. How awful. Criminal charges are horrible. We're going to report it to the police. I hung up, with a weird combination of nausea and vindication. This degree of treachery was unexpected. But it only served to affirm that I was acting morally. As I glanced at the trash bags in the driveway, I made one last addition. The top bag had a message pinned to it. I hope it was worth going camping. Remember to upload images. My phone flared up with a call from an unknown number as I was going over the last draft of my divorce file. I had to respond for some reason. Is Liana Thompson here? The voice of a lady. Strange and uneasy. Resonates. Who is this? Indeed? Sarah is my name. I am. Up until last month, Brianna and I shared a room. Something is important for you to know. My heart began to race. I'm paying attention. According to Sarah, this is not the first time they have done this. At Nathan's previous company, she and Brianna had already carried off a similar scam. I slumped into my office chair. Which plan? Targeting high-ranking executives. They get compromising images before threatening to reveal everything unless they are bought off. However, things were different this time. In fact, Brianna fell in love with Nathan. She started sharing everything online, breaking their routine. He is enraged. It seemed like the room was spinning. I considered the money Nathan had been transferring and the money he had been embezzling from clients. This was more than a simple affair. It was an intricate scam that had gotten out of hand. You're telling me this, but why? I inquired. This was prompted by Brianna's tearful phone call last night. Nathan is threatening to blame her for everything. She's afraid. I quickly phoned James Morrison back after hanging up. We must speak, James. This is more complex than you may imagine. An hour later, I sat in his office, summarizing what Sarah had told me. James appeared to be physically unwell. He looked over the material I had collected and replied. 3 other firms, 3 more executives fell victim to blackmail. How could we have overlooked this? Because they were cautious, I said, before Brianna deviated from the plan. It buzzed on my phone. Nathan once more. Nathan is sitting by the campfire to eat dinner. I wish you were present. I gazed at his message, recognizing its true nature, not only a deception, but a deliberate plot point. The late evenings spent at the workplace and the numerous business trips he took were unforgettable. How many more scammers did he operate that I was unaware of? James bent over. We must be careful with this. Liana, this is now a federal lawsuit. If your claims are accurate, the transaction took place through wire fraud. Blackmail. Stealing. I took out my phone and said, I know exactly how we need to handle it. I typed a message to Nathan. There has been an issue with one of our accounts. Darling, are you able to check your email? I then wrote him a well-written email. One that included Sarah's statement, Brianna's social media posts, and screenshots of his prior scams. I contributed one line. Your camping expedition must have encountered an interruption. My phone was inundated with alerts in a matter of minutes. Finally letting go of his camping persona, Nathan made 6 calls before deleting her whole Facebook account. Brianna shared a lengthy, heartbreaking video confession. It was the collapse of the House of Cards. James had called the FBI previously. He stated that they would want to meet tomorrow am. This may be quite significant. I nodded, feeling oddly at ease. I'll be present. Nathan sent me one last text that night as I was sitting in my newly secured house. You have no idea what you have done. I can describe anything, as I considered all the evidence that had been securely recorded and sent to several authorities. I grinned. I really typed it back. And I fully understand. In addition, I have actual receipts. Unlike your camping images. After that, I poured myself a drink of wine and blocked his phone. I might enjoy the fact that Nathan's well-built house of lies was on fire tonight. But tomorrow would be a very stressful day. The FBI meeting was set to begin at 9 in the morning. The Morrison and Webster lobby was in disarray by 8:30. It appears that Nathan and Brianna attempted to leave Punta Cana separately. But Dominican police stopped them at the airport. It appeared as though James Morrison had not slept. He rubbed his temples and remarked, 6 clients. 6 of our best clients were blackmailed for the entire sum. I concluded that it is more than $2 million. The forensic accountants worked through the night. And that's exactly what we've discovered thus far. Photographs were strewn all over the conference table by Agent Phillips, a perceptive lady in her 40s. Despite having different bosses, Nathan and Brianna all exhibit the same behavior. The evidence was overwhelming. Your husband and Ms. Moore will be extradited in 48 hours. She added, Mrs. Thompson. However, the money trail and those offshore accounts you discovered are of more importance to us. It buzzed on my phone. A message from an unidentified number. Nathan is using a hotel phone. Please, baby, everything is being ruined by you. We can resolve this. Agent Phillips nodded when I presented the message to him. Don't stop him from chatting. Try something out. I responded to the SMS. The crimes or the affair? You don't understand, he said right away. I took care of this for us. We plan to use the funds for our future. It nearly made me chuckle. Our prospects? When did you intend to abandon me? Who said that to you? Brianna? She's telling lies. She has no significance. Agent Phillips was recording every message she received. He's scurrying, she noted. Increase your effort. Really? I composed. You didn't assist her in creating that Cayman's account. Then? Is this the same account into which you have been transferring customer funds? Several times. The typing bubbles came and went. At last. How did you learn about it? I finished his thinking. Nathan, I'm a business lawyer. I pursue money trails as my profession. The FBI says hello. By the way, his reaction was quick and frantic. I'll reveal the whereabouts of all the funds. Don't let them arrest me. Please. Agent Phillips grinned. I got him. In a matter of hours, Nathan and Brianna found themselves in jail. Their plot, which involved several states, businesses, and victims, had been larger than anybody had anticipated. The FBI uncovered accounts in 3 different countries. James Morrison convened an emergency board meeting. He began by discussing the firm's reputation. We'll make it, I said, because all of the victims are being made whole once you detected it and reported it. That is the tale we are narrating. He gave me a thankful look. I already knew the answer. So I responded, Liana, if you want to join us as general counsel, let me think about it. My intentions were more ambitious. Rachel brought over wine and supper later that night as I was sitting in my home office. I heard Nathan trying to plea bargain. She added. I gave a nod. I am willing to provide testimony against all those involved in their earlier activities. It seems that even I did not find all the victims. How are you doing? I surveyed my workspace. I was proud of the life I'd established. The case files I'd won. And the degrees on the wall. What's humorous? Do you? Until we had children, he always viewed my work as a pastime. Something I did to kill time. He was unaware that all of those abilities and expertise were just what I needed to defeat him. Rachel's glass went up. To karma? No, I told her, considering all the evidence I had systematically collected, all the legal wrangling I had done, and all the dominoes I had meticulously positioned before bringing them down. To fairness. This is the type of justice you establish for yourself. Thankfully, the trial was short. Both Brianna and Nathan accepted plea bargains. She received 5 years, and he received 8. Their attorneys recommended against contesting the accusations since the evidence I had compiled was so extensive. Ultimately, the guy who had spent years controlling others was unable to use his words to win this one. Wearing the same deep blue suit I wore in our first mock trial in law school, I sat in the courtroom for sentencing. Nathan's face was a mask of despair and incredulity as he stared at me nonstop. It had now dawned on him that I had been playing chess while he was playing checkers. He made one more attempt. Your Honor, my wife and I could resolve this in private. Judge Matthews interrupted him. The federal government is pursuing charges, Mr. Thompson, and we have proof of several crimes of embezzlement, blackmail, and wire fraud. Your wife isn't. I didn't remain to witness his execution. Rather, I felt lighter than I had in years as I left the courthouse and stepped into the sunny Denver morning. I already had a corner office, a team of my own, and a promotion to general counsel from Morrison and Webster. More significantly, though, I had launched a side business that assisted businesses in detecting and avoiding internal fraud. It turned out that someone who had discovered one of the largest corporate blackmail scams in Colorado history was in high demand. A week later, Nathan received his final letter. I left it unopened in the shredder. Some chapters only need to end, they don't require a last page. After a while, the media attention subsided, and my life found a new rhythm. My fraud consulting business grew more quickly than I had anticipated, and clients from 3 states came to me for my advice. From his jail cell, I occasionally wondered if Nathan saw the articles about my accomplishment. 6 months after the sentencing, Sarah, Brianna's old roommate, dropped by my office one morning. She added nervously, I heard you help companies protect themselves against fraud now. I thought, well, after everything that happened, I'm starting a small business. I gazed at her for a moment, remembering how her phone call had exposed Nathan's entire scheme. I pointed to the chair across from my desk and added, the first consultation is free. James Morrison paid me a visit later that night when I was working late in my corner office at Morrison and Webster. He responded, just signed another client. They specifically requested your assistance in managing their situation. They asserted that they had heard how you handled the Thompson scandal. The irony made me grin. Instead, my greatest selling point was Nathan's desire to ruin me. James continued by saying that he attempted to write to me while incarcerated and asked me to get you to respond to his correspondence. I didn't look up as I continued typing. And I informed him that you couldn't read jail mail because you were too busy managing 2 profitable enterprises. When I eventually raised my head, I saw my image in the office window. The lady who was looking back wasn't a betrayed wife or a victim. She was a survivor who had overcome treachery. I answered, perfect answer, and resumed my job.